Hi there. My name is D.G. Valdron. I'm a writer. This is my attic. These are my books. Okay, so we're talking contracts because I'm not just a writer, I'm a lawyer. And while I don't work in the field of intellectual property law or any of that stuff, I have maintained a kind of personal interest. So I do know a few things that I'm going to share with you. We're talking contracts, and I'm going to tell you the single most important thing about contracts for books, for publishing, how to get out of them. Most importantly, or even more importantly, why you want to get out of them. Okay, look, let's go into a little bit. Way back in the day, the thing with contracts was that they kind of expired naturally. So, you went out, you sold your book to a publisher, the publisher published the book, and eventually it would go out of print. Nobody's buying the book, and once it goes out of print, the rights reverted back to you, the contract is over, and you own your property again. Then something interesting happened. It started with, I think, ebooks and print on demand and all that sort of thing. And so what happened was books weren't going out of print anymore. That was a problem. If ebooks are a thing or print on demand, then your book wasn't officially going out of print, which meant the publisher just kept it and kept it and kept it. And that meant that you never got your rights back. Well, that's no fun. Anyway, so we've moved into a new modern era where there is actually a real issue in terms of writers trying to get their rights back and sometimes not getting them back. And let me tell you, this kind of thing will suck. Here's the thing, right? I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of different writers over the years where they have had to work for years to get the rights to their books back or the rights to their audiobooks back, where they've just been tangled up in a morass. And this is not a good thing. The fact that somebody has the publishing rights to your book does not actually do you any good if they're not publishing your book, if they're not marketing your book. And unfortunately, that's kind of a problem. Now, there's all sorts of publishers, and there are all sorts of issues. With the great big publishers, the big five or the big six or the big four or two, whatever they are now, it's a simple matter of convenience. If they don't have to revert their rights back to you, if they don't have to pay you for the rights and can keep your rights indefinitely, well, that's an advantage to them. Not to you, but to them. It might not mean a lot to them, it might not matter to them, but you never know. If you're dealing with a very small publisher, a medium-sized publisher, one of the small fry, then you've kind of got a problem, because quite often small presses, they come and go. And I'm not condemning anyone. Most people who run small presses are running it purely from idealism and dedication. But the problem is that sometimes they go to business and don't tell anybody. Sometimes things get shut down, things go wonky. Or sometimes people aren't friends anymore. And suddenly you're in a situation where your publishing agreement is with somebody that doesn't like you or doesn't care about you or has changed their priorities and you'd like to have it back, but it's locked up. Or they simply disappear, go bankrupt, buggle out to Tuscaloosa or whatever. Somebody dies, somebody has a stroke, and suddenly your rights are tied up. I had a friend that I helped out, and he had a publisher who had published 4 of his books, and that publisher had ghosted him. It had disappeared. So he came to me for help, and so we tracked the publisher down. It turned out that following a hurricane in Florida, the publisher had basically shut down, discontinued their operations, but the books were still up on Amazon. So somebody potentially was getting sales, and the money from those sales was going somewhere, but my friend wasn't seeing anything. He couldn't use his books. He couldn't upload his books separately to Amazon. So we actually had to work really hard to get him his rights back. So for you and your book contract in the modern era, the most important thing that you need to have in your contract is the get out of Dodge section, the terminate the contract section, the end of the road section. For instance, it could be just for a period of years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, then it's over, rights revert, there you go. If not, then perhaps it should be a certain amount of publications. So I've seen contracts where it says basically after 1,000 copies are issued and sold, I get my rights back. Well, not perfect, but you know what? It gives you an end date. One approach would be to simply say, yeah, contract is terminated upon formal notice. Written notice or 90 days, stuff like that. You can do that. Another approach, and this is something you should insist on, if the publishing company is sold, if the publisher is sold, then the contract terminates. The rights should automatically go back to you. And I'm going to explain why. Okay. Often when you're dealing with publishers, especially small press publishers, it's a labor of love. It's a commitment by the people involved. But if that publisher sells, you do not know who you were dealing with. You may be dealing with somebody who is not appreciative of your work, not useful, somebody who might do things with your work that you do not appreciate or want, somebody that you don't know or trust. Don't work with a complete stranger. If the publisher shuts down or goes bankrupt, then basically, yeah, your rights need to revert. Now, it's not just that as well. Quite often with your books, with your publications, you are going to be up on Amazon. You're going to be at Ingram Spark. You're going to be at Drafted Digital, Smashwords, Kobo, Barnes & Noble. Well, if your relationship with your publisher breaks down, they disappear, etc., your books may still all be up there. Somebody may be seeing some money out of it, or the money may be just kind of vanishing into a black hole. But you're hamstrung in terms of being able to do anything with your own work. Again, you want to talk reversion. You want to talk complete reversion of rights. You want to talk cancellation of the contract. Oh, and here's a couple of other things, and I'm just going to emphasize it. If your publisher is not giving you reports, accurate reports on the schedule, then you should have a right to terminate. It comes down to that basic element of trust. Okay, you need paperwork. You need something to show for it. If they are not giving you your paperwork or your reports, get out. So I hope that this is helpful. Anyway, I might think of a few more things to say about contracts, so stick around.